Hello, my amiable students. In this lesson, we'll be looking at Earth rotation. What are the objectives of this lesson? First, you need to know what the rotation of the Earth is and what is the movement of the Earth. We are also going to look at the effects and importance of rotation. First, what is movement of the Earth? Movement of the Earth is when the Earth tends to move in its axis or revolve round the Sun in an elliptical orbit as is tilted to the ecliptic plane and balanced by gravitational force on its occultation path with other planets. So rotation tends to take place on its axis. What is the rotation of the Earth? Rotation of the Earth is a phenomenon where the Earth tends to spin in its own axis once in every 24 hours. This spinning tends to take place on the Earth axis in a direction that goes from west to east. So in this direction, the Earth spins in 4 minutes for every 1 degree and 1 hour in 15 degrees of longitude, as well as completing a complete phase in 60 degrees in 24 hours. But in recent times, this movement tends to slow down in its speed. Normally, this movement is very observable when moving in a very fast car or in an airplane. It seems like the opposite environment or the adjacent environment is moving in the opposite direction. The Earth axis is tilted to the ecliptic plane. What are the importance and effects of this movement? 1. It leads to day and night. The phenomenon of day and night is gotten through the Earth spinning in its own axis. The part that is facing the Sun is said to be in daylight, as in day, while the side that is in obscurity is said to be in night or darkness. The curve that tends to separate the Earth into two parts, or the circle that tends to separate the Earth into two parts, which is the part of obscurity and the part of daylight, is regarded as the circle of illumination. The second effect is the movement of the apparent heavenly bodies or the Sun. As the Earth spins on its own axis, or its neighbor critically looks as if they are moving in the other direction, but they are actually static. This spinning of the Earth in its own axis also affects the velocity of loose materials as well as other moving agents or other moving bodies on the surface of the Earth. But this velocity tends to vary on the whole surface as it is higher in the equator and reduced poleward. Mathematically, to know the speed of Earth rotation, we mathematically divide the circumference of the Earth in that part with the number of times it spins. So at the equator, we'll have the equatorial circumference to be divided by the 24 hours of its movement, and we'll come up with 17,000 kilometers, which is the speed at which the Earth tends to move in its own axis at the equator. Moving poleward, we see that the circumference at the poles tend to be reduced, and this will mathematically give us 20,100 divided by 24 hours, which will be 840 kilometers per hour, which is the velocity at which the Earth tends to spin at the poles in the Arctic and the Antarctic region. So this velocity tends to affect loose materials like wind or air in motion, as well as the earth tectonic processes and movement of water in the sea. Another effect is the deflection of loose material on the Earth's surface or loose materials on the Earth's surface. These materials are like wind, raindrop, and others. But looking at wind tend to be deflected to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This can be understood when looking at the first law of motion on the Coriolis force. Sunset and sunrise. The sun normally appears on a new day after the earth has completed its spinning phase from the east. So the side that is being introduced into the light is said to be in sunrise. Sunrise tend to come due east as the earth is spinning and the sun is just introduced in a new day. As the sun tend to go away, or as the sun tends to fade away, the part that is having a faint sunlight is regarded to be in sunset, where the earth is moving, or when the earth is moving into obscurity as the sun tend to fade in the evenings. So the new introduction to light is referred to as a new dawn, while the fading away or movement or gradual movement into obscurity is regarded as twilight. So this tend to be a kind of from west to east movement that is being apparently visible in the east first before the west. With this, we come to the end of this lesson. I hope you understood all that has been said in this lesson. Watch the video, look at the content page very critically so that you'll be able to answer the quiz and assignments attached to this lesson.